MVPs, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Then, Kyrie Irving makes his official return to Boston as the Nets visit the Celtics. Brooklyn looked dominant in its opener on Tuesday, cruising to a 26-point win over Golden State. LeBron and the Lakers take on Luka and the Mavs late this afternoon. It's the 14th straight season that LeBron is playing on Christmas, tying Kobe Bryant for the longest streak in NBA history, and then close out your night with a rematch of last year's Western semis. Clippers, Nuggets. Denver came back from 3-1 down to win that, so Kawhi and company will be looking for revenge. We got all that ready for today, and we've got this crew that enjoyed it so much last year during the bubble playoffs. Kendrick Perkins and Zach Lowe. Merry Christmas, guys. Great to see both of you. And let's start, Zach, if we can, with this Nets and Celtics. As I said earlier, I think this is a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. What will you have your eye on in this game today?
I want to see how the Nets defense handles two big wing stars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because if there's one thing that makes me just a little nervous about the Nets is, are they going to be able to get enough stops, and who other than KD do they have to guard those bigger wings that dominate the playoffs? Is Taurean Prince going to step up? Jeff Green? Or are they going to trend small and just try to get by? But Nets defense is one of the biggest storylines of the season.
You know, Big Perk, I said all year, if KD is fully healthy, the Nets should be the favorites in the Eastern Conference. I know it's only one game, but he looked awfully good. In your mind, is Brooklyn, Kendrick Perkins, the team to beat in the Eastern Conference this quickly?
Absolutely, Greeny. KD is back. He looks 100% healthy. He's back to being that elite scorer that we once seen before his injury. And when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, I don't care if Kyrie have been, doing his saging and sitting Indian style. That don't even matter. When he get between those lines, he's a walking bucket. And then when you look at the others on the team, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, Derek Allen, and most importantly, Harris LeVert. I love the way that they're using him as a six-man off the bench. He is a guy that could come in and give you 20 a night, and I love the makeup of their team. They got one of the deepest rosters in the NBA, and I'm with you, Greeny. The Brooklyn Nets are coming out of the East.
You know, we had a debate earlier this week, Zach, about the pressure that is on them. Do you feel like it's finals or bust for the Nets, year one?
Year one, that's tough. I mean, that's tough to be finals or bust when we have to see how KD looks 30, 40 games in. But I agree with you guys. I think people slept on the Nets because of the soap opera aspects of the Instagram Live. This team is awesome. They're deep. They can play a lot of different styles. And if it's not finals or bust, it's close, because to me, they and the Bucks are the favorites in the East. And we've seen what's happened to the Bucks in the last two playoffs. And we know what KD does in the playoffs.
All right, so that's the Eastern Conference story today. Let's go to the West in a fascinating matchup again between the Lakers and the Mavericks. Kendrick, what's one thing you have your eye on in that game?
Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. And here's why. The Dallas Mavericks do not have an answer for him in the inside. And I think Anthony Davis should have a monster night today on Christmas Day. He's a generational talent, Greeny, who could dominate. He got a post moves on each block, right or left shoulder jump hooks. He could take you out, shoot the three-point shot. They don't have anybody to guard him, so he should have one of those Wilt Chamberlain-type nights and have one of those epic performances. I'm keeping a close eye on Anthony Davis.
Zach, I spent a very enjoyable hour at the beginning of this week reading your NBA season preview, and you have the Lakers, you put teams in tiers, and you have the Lakers on a tier all to themselves. Why? Why are they so much better in your mind than anybody else?
Well, they just rampaged through the bubble. They got better. They got a shot creator in Dennis Schroeder, which was an ingredient they really needed to have. I think Marc Gasol, if he just has one more good year in him, is a perfect fit with their starting five. They can play big, but with shooting to clear the lane for LeBron and AD. And Greeny, the two teams that were supposed to challenge the Lakers, it was three contenders all year. They were all equal. The Clippers, the Bucks, they fell on their faces in the playoffs. And when that happens to you, you just got to prove it. And when the Lakers, they don't have to prove anything. They already proved it. The bubble was a tough, adverse environment. They rose up. Those other teams fell on their faces. Yeah, they got better. Drew Holiday's a huge addition. Serge Ibaka's a perfect fit for the Clippers. But we got to see how those teams respond when someone hits them in the face in the playoffs. We know how the Lakers responded already.
Meanwhile, Big Perk, the betting favorite for MVP this year is Luka Doncic. I picked him myself, but I saw in the notes you have a concern. What is your concern for Luka Doncic as this season begins?
Well, Greeny, first of all, Luka is an absolute stud. I think he is a superstar, and he will win the MVP. Probably not this season, but I'm looking at Luka right now, and he needs to get in better shape. I thought he would focus more on his body this offseason and come in a little chiseled up. I understand he has a whack body. Let me give you a definition of a whack body, Greeny. It's a term that we use in the NBA for guys like myself, Paul Pierce, Big Glenn Baby Davis that played the game. No matter how hard you work, you could never get that six-pack or get ripped up with some strong biceps, but you can get in great shape. And I think if Luka want to take that next jump and be that elite superstar and be able to sustain it, he has to get in better shape, in my opinion.
Yes, he has to be built less like Big Perk and more like Zach Lowe if he's going to wind up winning an MVP.
Oh,
guys, stay close.
No.
We will have much more from both of you as this hour continues. We're just getting our coverage of the NBA started, I promise. And this promises to be a great day of basketball on ESPN and ABC. We'll have Jalen off the top of the next hour. Stephen A. Smith will be here as well ahead of a special edition of First Take. All that and more on the way this morning as we get up with you. Meanwhile, to the NFL, a Christmas Day showdown is on the schedule there as well. Vikings, Saints, we know about the history. 2017 playoffs, devastation for New Orleans. Stephon Diggs, 61 yards, known to this day as the Minnesota Miracle. 2 years later, the Vikings eliminate the Saints again, this time in the wild card round in New Orleans. Will Lutz sent the game to overtime for the Saints in the final seconds, but the Vikings win it there on a Kyle Rudolph touchdown. So today, the rematch. The Saints looking for revenge. Minnesota, meanwhile, desperately needs the win. Their playoff hopes are over if they don't find a way to win this game. And our crew is here and ready. Mike T and Bart Scott. Fellas, great to see you. And let us start with this. Bart, the Saints are supposed to be the best team in the NFL, and injury and a bunch of other things. In your mind, at least in the NFC, where are the Saints right now?
They still are the best team in the NFL, but they just have to get right. And I think they have to change their game plan. Last week, Drew Brees looked mediocre at best, only completing 15 passes, under 50% of his attempts. Also, they need to start running the ball and going through Alvin Kamara. I mean, whenever you get a young quarterback, we remember about all the aging quarterbacks back in the day. I think about John Elway. I think about Peyton Manning. It was led by a strong running game. They're asking him to do too much. We don't know how healthy he is from the ribs. And Michael Thomas and him has to come back and get on the same page. But to protect Drew Brees and protect guys from putting barbecue sauce on those ribs, you're going to have to run the football and have play action down the field. His attempts are allowing defenders just to sit on the football, understanding that he's not going to open up. And we don't know how healthy that cartilage is. People talk about the ribs itself and the punctured ribs.